What happened? Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm going to give it just a second to see if anybody else is trying to join. No? Okay. All right. Anna, I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Sure, no problem. I'm gonna share my present here. Share my screen. Good morning, everybody. So today we're talking about the fun capacity building plans. Today is a monthly meeting, so this is going to be an example of kind of the monthly workshops the collaborative will focus on going forward, which will be topics that you all choose that you want the trust to bring experts in, or you all together as a peer group want to work on. So today we're talking about capacity building plans. So I'm going to share with you again, if you have any questions, we're recording this. The PowerPoint will be available after. And I think, Christy, if you have the link to the website where all this stuff is being saved, we can also post that in the chat. Today, we're going to go over kind of a recap of what the collaborative has done to date. One thing I want to have everybody check is their attendance too, because if anybody listened to the board meeting or was at the board meeting yesterday, you'll see that there is the collaborative, there's capacity building funding that was approved by the board yesterday. So there will be some funding going out via an ITN, which was called an invitation to negotiate. So that money will be coming out, I believe, today. So as part of that, there's some attendance requirements. So I just want to make sure everybody has their collaborative attendance up to date today. We're going to go over the capacity building plan, doing your self-assessments all the way through, coming up with goals, and then everything related to capacity building plans today. So thanks for everybody for joining us. So just to recap what has been going on. So, and many of you have already been here from the beginning. So the Children's Trust put out an open call for out of school time providers to join this youth development capacity building collaborative in September. The intent was to provide you with free trainings to improve organizational capacity, support these providers with capacity building plans and implementation support, and convening around best practices and coordination of services. Throughout the month of October and just one additional training in November, there were 5 trainings. So the first one was the collaborative overview, which many of you attended, and doing business with the trust, where we went over topics like how to contract with the Children's Trust and what that meant. The Florida After School Network training, where we had Holly go through all of the quality standards that are used at the system level to help focus in on capacity building and standards and what it means. And also on the 20th, we had the Early Learning Coalition talk to you about school readiness money and how to get that type of programming. And DCF came on the 27th to talk about DCF licensing, which was a big topic. And I know many of you are working through your DCF licensing right now. And then we also had part 2 of the Florida After School Network. So done a lot of trainings to date. Now we're moving into the phase where, we focus on the convening power, right? So no longer are we kind of just training you. Now we're focusing on the pure network, right? And the one thing I want to iterate is it's super, funding is always important, but being able to work together with providers like yourselves is some of the most powerful things that you'll kind of get out of the collaborative as they elevate conversations so that you can make system change, not just changes here at one program and changes here at another program. Across Alachua County, changes are made for the better so that all children can thrive, right? So that's really the point of these collaboratives, is to bring together. So exciting for you all to be here. One thing I want to check with everybody is the attendance. Again, I mentioned, I think many of you have gotten emails about this and check your attendance, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to drop it in the chat. So please, 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 please check your attendance. I cannot iterate this enough, that you should check your attendance. If there's any issues with your attendance, let me know. Drop it in the chat and I'll correct it right now. So please let us know if there's any issues. I really want everybody to be properly accounted for. Again, these attendance does have, these attendance requirements are included in the ITN, which is funding for capacity building. So I want to make sure everybody is well aware that this is part of the invitation to negotiate, and your attendance was tracked for multiple purposes. So please, 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 please check. Okay, so I think let us know, drop it in the chat, and we can fix any issues. So I'll scroll through. If you have anything, just drop it in the chat. Okay. All right. We're on there twice. Lexi, okay. Maybe that is a problem. We'll double check that. Okay, perfect. So, all right, everybody had a chance to check. If you have any issues, just drop it in there, okay? Okay, so again, I cannot reiterate enough that you should definitely check your attendance. Now we're getting into the capacity building. So what is capacity building, right? So capacity building is whatever is needed to bring your organization to the next level of operational, programmatic, financial, or organizational maturity, right? It's so that you can more effectively and efficiently advance your mission, right? Capacity building is not intended to be a one-time effort that you just do a one and done. It's really intended to be continuous improvement, right? So you work through kind of assess, plan, improve, and you do that cycle over and over again, right? So when it's successful, it strengthens an organization's ability to fulfill its mission over time and have a positive impact on the lives and communities, right? Particularly when we think about the types of services you provide with school-age children and out of school time, right? The point of your organization's kind of capacity helps directly support these children with services. So that's why we care so much about capacity and being able to serve them with high quality and program access. Now, many of you were at the Florida After School Network training, both of the trainings. So we are going to utilize those standards that the Florida After School Network has set forth. So we're going to use those standards and you're going to complete a capacity building plan now. So now that you've had the training, I think many of you, we did it through the Google Forms, but now now we're going to do the full self-assessment. So the capacity building plan has the following kind of categories. The categories are administration, organization, program management and staff, communication, interaction, program structure and activities, health, safety, nutrition, program environment, family and community involvement. And then this 8th one, which is not on the Florida After School Network list, but it's for us as a system of Alachua County. And those are the things like the DCF certifications, the DCF licensing, ELC funding, being part of this collaborative. Those are things that we are considering as system building type quality standards as well. So as part of your capacity building plan, the first step is to do a self-assessment, right? And one of the things we want also for you to keep in mind is our goal as part of the capacity building plan is to help organizations meet or exceed existing requirements for out of school time programming. So these are the existing requirements for after school. So if you have a contract with the Children's Trust of Alachua County right now for after school, these are the types of requirements that are in place. So for after school, It's implementing programming that serves children with enriching and creative programming. The services are offered 4 days a week with at least 1.5 hours of programming throughout the school year. Programs employ highly qualified staff members. The sites are safe and enriching and have an active or DCF exempt license. Each program has at least one staff member available on site, trained in first aid and infant and child CPR. They have minimum staff ratios that are 1 in 20, and all staff have a level 2 background screening. Programs have an assigned program director responsible for managing and implementing programs and coordinating with CTAC staff, and they serve low-income children that reside in Alachua County. So those are the existing minimum requirements. So again, as part of for after school, and I'll go over the summer ones in just a second. So when you're doing your self-assessments and thinking through like how, as an organization, we want you to also think through, hey, these are some standards that we have right now to date that we would want your organizations to meet or succeed. So if you were thinking about having an after school program in Alachua County and get funded through the Children's Trust, these are what you could expect as just minimum requirements. Are there any questions about this? Questions? I'm going to stop. Feel free to just take yourself off mute if there's any questions. And these are just a summary of what existed in money that has already been investments that the Children's Trust has already put out and contracts that are already out. No questions? Nada? Okay, great. Now for summer, the minimum requirements right now are the implement programming for children, creative and enriching. The programming is offered to meet the needs of children and parents during summer month. Qualified staff, safe sites. For summer, we don't have a DCF licensing requirement. Still need CPR training, minimum staffing ratios, and level 2 background check, and continuing to serve children in Alachua County. As you can see, the summer requirements aren't as high. So any questions about these? Nada? Perfect. Okay. Now thinking about your capacity building plans, the first step is assessment and benchmarking, which is what we're going to be doing with the Florida After School Network self-assessment tool. You'll complete the full self-assessment, and then action planning will be setting up your goals from there. Okay, what do you want to work on? And then the actual implementation will be monitoring that progress, thinking it, and then reassessing and seeing where you want to start again in the cycle that goes over and over, right? As you do continuous improvement. So again, all this will be the activity implementation. For activity implementation, again, we're going to release this invitation to negotiate for funding. So that would be funding available for these types of capacity building plans. So completing the capacity building self-assessment. So this is the self-assessment tool. It is the full tool all the way through. And this is the same tool that is included as a required form in the ITN. So what you're working on today, if you decide to apply for funding or you're eligible to apply for funding, then you will be using the same thing that's included in the funding. Obviously, not everybody in the collaborative is eligible for funding, but we hope you still create these capacity building plans because we think it's important for you as an organization to also, work together and see what could be. So the capacity building self-assessments, they have the quality standards and then the individual elements. And so you would rate them on the following scale. So today I want you all to go here, click here. So let me drop this in the chat. So you're going to download this. Oops, Stephanie, can you drop it in the chat? I don't know why it won't. Here we go.
You got it?
I think I got it. Everybody get the link? You should have a copy. When you should be able to have a copy of this. Who is the first person to tell me they have a copy? Let's see. I'm going to pick on Lexi. You got it? Carrie, yes. All right. Everybody has a copy of it. Jennifer, sweet. Everybody got theirs? Perfect. Okay. So again, this is the same tool you've been using in the Florida After School Network trainings. And then the only difference now is that you're just going to do it kind of by yourself, and then, you know, rate yourself across the entire tool, and then also include evidence to support this rating. Remember how Kali had gone over like what observable things you do that helps you decide that rating, right? So a level 1, our program has not addressed this area, or I'm not familiar enough with this aspect to rate its performance. Level 2, program is just beginning to do this. Level 3, our program has done some work. Level 4, our program frequently demonstrates the standard but needs consistency. Level 5, our program is clearly proficient with this standard and can demonstrate proficiency in observable ways. So you would rate all the standards. If you go here, what you're going to do is rate everything here and just keep going, every standard here. And this will be your full programmatic self-assessment. Okay. And then the other standards, again, which you have not seen, but as part of the other trainings, these are the system building standards, which are specific to Alachua County. They include obtaining DCF licensing, ELC school readiness funding, leveraging other funding opportunities. We also included the opportunity for you to have a membership for the Center for Nonprofit Excellence, and then obviously participating in the collaborative itself. And there's also an option for insurance requirements as well. So these are all the full self-assessment. So what we want you to do is to complete this, and you can complete this on your own, and you can complete it with staff if you have staff to help you figure out where today my organization is. And we're not judging you on anything. It's a self-assessment just for your own records. But the next thing after you finish your self-assessment, what we want you to do is to look at the items where you rated yourself a 3 or lower, right? And on the tool itself, kind of highlights it for you. So if I rate this a 3, it's a red, just to give you a visual cue. That's something that you might want to work on for yourself. So again, go through the full tool, decide where you land for yourself, your own organization. Then look through the tool. Trying to present at the same time. Provide the evidence. Again, you still want to fill out the full tool. And then you're going to want to identify 5 to 10 standards that you want to prioritize to develop your capacity building plan. So this is the meat and potatoes, right? So for example, if I wanted to work on this quality standard, we see here, I rated myself a 3. On this quality standard 1.2, the program involves children and youth, families, and staff in planning and implementing suitable activities that are consistent with the program's mission statement. I maybe don't do that. I've done some work, but I might want to work on that. That might be something that I can add to my list. But then the second question becomes, do I want to prioritize that into a list of 5 to 10? Okay, because I think there's over 50 quality standards you could work on. That's unrealistic to work on every single thing. So we recommend you pick between 5 or 10 standards that where you have a lower rating, self-rating, and at the same time, like can help meet those minimum standards as well that the Children's Trust already has. So now that you have, okay, so you make full list. Again, you do the self-assessment on your own, and you'll identify those 5 to 10 standards where you scored yourself a 3 or lower. And then what will the Children's Trust do? So the Children's Trust will support you in achieving your full scope of your action plan. And if you receive funding, which will be this capacity building funding will be funded through the ITN process, which isn't released yet, but it will be released very, very soon. If you do receive funding for your action plan, you're going to want to choose quality standards that justify the amount allocated as well. So one thing to think about when you are prioritizing those areas, again, you want to prioritize things that you kind of must do, right? So if I wanted to have an after school program, if you look at the minimum requirements for after school, if I don't have a DCF license, then I wouldn't be able to run an after school program under at least, or I wouldn't be eligible to get Children's Trust funding for an after school program, right? So that would be something like, oh, I want to do after school, or I am doing after school, but I don't have my license yet or my exemption yet. That would be probably something you want to prioritize, right? So that you can include that in your capacity building plans. Or, again, you might need staff training, or you might need staff background checks, things like that. Those are things you kind of need to do. So those are must do's, right? So I would recommend, as you think through the standards after you do your self-assessment, what are something you must do? Let's write those down first. What are things you want to do? Again, there's lots of things you probably want to do. I know the world of out of school time providers, you're all overachievers. There's going to be like 50 things you want to do. I'm looking at you, Christy. I feel like you're laughing. So I'm looking at you. I know there's so many things you guys want to do. And then you have to be realistic. What can you do as well with the resources you have available, which includes staff time, which includes talent, which includes your physical space, and includes timing too. The idea with these capacity building plans is that they're going to be done by August 2022. Okay, so be realistic with what you can do. Okay, so any questions about the prioritization? Again, we recommend 5 to 10 quality standards, no more, because each one you're going to have a goal assigned to it with deliverables and all this fun stuff. So questions? What do you guys think about this?
I have a question. I'm sorry.
Sure,
I probably missed this. Will we get a copy of this PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll have a copy. And I believe there's a website being built to hold all this stuff. So there's a website on the Children's Trust page that's being built by a designer to store all the trainings we have, all the recordings, all the PowerPoints. So you have everything. But yes, you will have a copy of this as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you have the self-assessment. So you can have all that great information. Again, the hard part is, again, figuring out where you fall with your self-assessment and then only picking 5 to 10, right? So only picking 5 to 10 areas where you want to prioritize. So does anybody want to share an example of something you're thinking of including as a quality standard that you want to work on? Has anybody thought about this yet? Anyone want to be brave and tell me they're going for DCF licensing? What? Who's gone for DCF?
Possibly.
Possibly. Okay.
We're thinking very hard about it. Yes, I think Cam will be doing it.
Perfect. Got it. If you can, good. I like it. If you can, you would. I like it. Perfect. Okay. So again, once you go through that self-assessment process, then the next step should be, all right, so now that I have a goal, or at least I have a quality standard I want to work towards, right? One thing I like about the Florida After School Network tool is you see how the standards also include these elements, right? They help you define your goals a little better as well. They kind of help you. So for instance, if I picked the program has established sound fiscal and business practices to ensure continued and sustained program operations, right? So if I pick this one option, And I'm like, okay, that's the standard I want to work towards, because if I look through some of these things and be like, I don't do that yet, or I might rate myself or a 1 or 2 on here, you can easily kind of use the elements to figure out what would be a specific goal you would work on from these areas. So I highly recommend looking at the elements to see, what are some best practices, because the elements are based off of best practices in the industry, right, of out of school time. So they can help you to define your goals really well too. Okay, so for SMART goals are specific, right? So you have to who, what, when, and where. They're measurable, so they know how you will meet the goal. You clearly need to meet the goal in some way. They're achievable, right? You have what you need to make a goal attainable. For instance, I should never, ever, ever set a goal where I, can, dunk. It's just not going to happen. I can never dunk. If my goal was to be able to dunk a basketball in the next 3 months, it'll be specific, it'll be measurable. It would be probably relevant maybe to my fitness goals. It would be time bound. Probably wouldn't be achievable because I do not have the skills to do that, nor the height. So probably not very achievable for me. So that's the other thing to think about. And it should be relevant. Is it aligned with your mission and vision? And is it time bound? Like, when would I do it? Okay, I could do it in 3 months. Okay, time bound, but at the same time. So here's an example of a goal statement. Our program will implement new activities for children. What's wrong with this? Guys?
Definitely not specific.
Not specific, okay. Anybody, how could I make this more specific?
You could add academic, physical activity, more specific. Sorry, I lost my brain there for a moment.
More specific. Okay, so I could say our program will maybe add a new activity like literacy to our existing, right? Okay. What would make it measurable?
I mean, how many activities you're going to add or how often?
Okay, so I will add a new literacy activity once a week, right? Okay, perfect. What else are we missing? Attainable. Okay, does it sound attainable? So let's say I am a swimming program. Does that seem attainable if I want to add a literacy component? Like maybe not, right? So you have to think, is it attainable do I have the talent and staff to do that, right? Would it be relevant as well? If I'm a swimming program and I want to add once a week literacy programming, maybe not relevant, who knows, but maybe they are getting into that, it could be. So those are the things you have to think about. And then the last one is time bound, right? So if I want to implement this literacy program, new literacy activity once a week, when am I going to do it by? So just making sure that your goals are incredibly specific so that if anybody comes by your desk or your computer and says, what's your capacity building goal? Okay, well, my goal for this is, to improve my quality standards when it comes to programming. I will do it by this date with this activity, with this dosage, and I'll know, right? So very specific. So we want to be specific, we want to be measurable, we want to be achievable, and we want it to be time bound. So here's an example, right? By March 2022, ABC organization will identify what improvements are needed in order to obtain DCF licensing for all 3 of our sites that serve elementary school children. ABC organization will work to implement these changes before June 2022 in preparation for summer programming. By August 2022, all changes will be incorporated and DCF licensing will be obtained to provide quality programming to our children. So is this a SMART goal? Seems pretty smart. So it's specific, includes what, where, and when. It measurables, right? It's measurable. I have milestones to tell me. I have broken up those goals so it's achievable, right? To make it more attainable. It's relevant. It's connected to my broader mission, which is to improve quality programming to children in the program. And it has clear dates, so it's time bound. So this is what you would want to do for all of those 5 to 10 quality standards. So again, this is just one example where it has like your DCF licensing and how you'd go about doing it. And then the other thing you might want to list as well are your deliverables. So you're like, how do I prove that I did this? Right? Okay, I'll have my lists. I have my DCF license. I can easily prove this, right? Or if our example of literacy programming, you could show your sample schedule of a real sample, right? Be like, hey, here's my schedule of the week now. Look, my schedule before didn't have literacy programming. Now I have it. I have even maybe my staff trained on it. I have curriculum, right? Like those are examples of deliverables that will kind of show the evidence for your SMART goal. Okay. So again, use the elements on the self-assessment as well to make your life a little easier. For especially those where it has like 4 or 5 different elements. I would highly recommend using those based on the standard you pick. So you can just, you know, make a SMART goal using the elements, makes your life easier. Okay. Any questions about these? All right, pop quiz. What's a SMART goal? I'm gonna pick on, who's I'm gonna pick on? Lexi. What's S in SMART? Is Lexi there? Nope. I'm gonna pick on Shelly.
Hi, everybody.
Morning.
Specific, measurable,
Specific. Yes.
achievable, relevant, time bound.
A+. All right, Shelly, I'm gonna ask you another question. All right, I'm gonna give you homework too. So ask your peers another question from today. What would you want to ask them?
Sorry, clarify your question again.
I'm saying ask your peers kind of a question about today's topic about capacity building plans. What question do you have maybe for your peers?
What, where do people see that they're gonna, what measures or what are the improvements that y'all think you're gonna make?
Okay. Does anybody want to say like what improvements are you guys thinking of now that you've kind of had the capacity building training? And anybody offhand have a topic they're thinking about to include?
I do.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
We feel like we are going to create a more advanced curriculum for the older kids in our group, since we have K through 8. As kind as the 8th graders are to the young kids, they need a quiet space and they need something more advanced. And so we're working on that.
Awesome. Great. That's it.
With employees and
Yeah.
all their own.
Right. Exactly. That makes perfect sense. Awesome. Anybody else have something they're thinking about doing? Thinking about capacity? All right. So again, for today, what really all it's about today is you doing your self-assessments, right? So everybody has the download of the self-assessment guide. The number one thing is go through, make sure you fill out your full self-assessment. In the past, you've done the trainings where you have done it as a group. Now I want you guys to do it all the way through, all the way down. And then identify what are those 5 to 10 quality standards that you want to prioritize, right? From those 5 to 10, then you'll develop those SMART goals and deliverables for each of those. And then stay tuned for ITN announcements. So, and make sure your attendance is correct.
May I ask you how to find, I'm sorry, I must have missed early on the attendance. Where do I find that again?
Sure, I can do that for you. So let me drop it in here. Here you go. I dropped it in the chat and we can check here.
Thank you so much.
There you go. So if you guys have any questions about your attendance, that will double check because again, the ITN, which has the capacity building funding for those who aren't familiar, and ITN is called an invitation to negotiate. And ITN is used instead of an RFP typically because we don't know exactly what your capacity building goals will be. So an ITN allows you that flexibility to define your goals, right? So that's why an ITN, just in case you guys aren't familiar with the world of procurement and government contracts, it's just a little bit of semantics. But the reason typically you'll see an RFP or an RFA, which are requests for proposals or requests for applications, those have like very specific details in them, right? Like I want summer programs for these kids at these sites with this dosage. And ITN is a little bit more open-ended. And in this case, the capacity building funding is open-ended because you're going to be defining your goals based on your own organizational self-assessment. And so that's the reason why it's an ITN. But your attendance is important. So make sure you check your attendance. If you have any issues with your attendance, let us know today, like in the next 10 minutes, please. Please. Okay. And then other things. So
Anna,
yeah, go ahead, Chrissy.
I just want to acknowledge Carrie's message that Carrie, we will update your DCF attendance. Carrie is exempt. She's already licensed.
Perfect. We will update it again. Like I said, let us know. Thank you. I shall update that. No problem. All right. So I have the attendance sheet for today. So please also sign in for today's training. Stay tuned for the funding again for those who are maybe missed the morning a little bit. So the Children's Trust last night, the board approved this funding for the capacity building. So the intent is that it will seek out of school time providers who are interested in improving their organizational capacity with the implementation side. And the total funding is $300,000 for approved direct and indirect costs. So where can you find this information? You might ask. Well, the best place to go is the Children's Trust website. And I believe you'll get it in an email blast as well if you're on their regular email list. Is that right, Christy?
So that is correct. And then within the next few hours, we will create the bid page for this invitation to negotiate. And then we will send a solicitation announcement out. And if you are on our listserv, you will get that announcement. But it will be the same place where we have all of our RFPs and bids. So that is where you will find it.
And once it's released, all your questions related to the ITN will fall under what is called the cone of silence. And so that means all your questions will need to be that are asked specifically for that ITN will have to be publicly available so that everybody can see the answers to them. So right now it's not released. So if you have questions, maybe ask them right now. It might save you some time. But just as an FYI, as soon as it's released, we enter the cone of silence until recommendations are made. So you cannot ask staff directly questions. You can't ask board members questions. It falls under a code of silence, and all those questions and answers are publicly noticed on the website.
Lexi, do you have a question?
Yes, sorry. For the self-assessment, is
Sure.
the expectation for the evidence that we're just like narrating it, or do we need to go ahead and compile all of these things? Well, the stuff that can be like shown.
Yeah, it's just notes for yourself, quite frankly, like how you justified your own answer.
Okay.
Really. So like you might want to say, oh, I have training materials with that. So if you remember from the Florida After School Network training that Holly went through, evidence is really like observable ways that you demonstrate that standard, right? And the reason why you want to put it there is that because when you do a self-assessment, chances are you're not going to look at it every day, and you might forget why you gave yourself that rating, quite frankly. And you're going to do this more than once, again, through continuous improvement. The idea is you self-assess more than once, right? So you're going to have a essentially, this is your self-assessment. And then at the end of the collaborative, you'll also do a post-assessment. So I wanted to have you guys document that so that you would remember your own, and so you can document your own changes and things like that. But it's 100% for you. I will say, if you put 5s, I would love for you guys to show me like evidence about that so that we could share those 5s and examples with others, so that they can have like real examples of like how other out of school time providers are getting 5s. So I think those are like best practices for, you're going to be in an example of a 5 kind of thing. So that would be something to also to keep in mind too, is how can you help your peers? But if you're doing amazing in an area, everybody should do amazing in that area. What can you share with them to help them? Does that make sense? Cool. All right. So complete your self-assessments. Again, the ITN with the funding and all this fun stuff will be out probably today, this afternoon. Stay tuned to the website. Again, the idea with the self-assessment is it's totally just for you. There's no judgment on the self-assessment. And then prioritize 5 to 10 areas. And for those 5 to 10 areas, we'll have SMART goals. And this is the same form that is in the ITN. So just as an FYI, you're just doing a little bit of pre-work.
Anna, I just wanted to make a quick comment that it was a little difficult to get on the meeting today. The link on the website, the calendar on your website didn't quite work. So I was able to like copy and paste the numerals that are the meeting ID and get in.
Okay.
It wasn't like you just click and join. So I don't know if there's some.
I will look into that and see what happened with that and check the one for tomorrow's information session as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thanks. Yeah, I had an issue with it too, so maybe there must have been something wonky going on. Well, thanks, guys. And as a reminder, and one other thing, it's, I believe, already on the calendar. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. is the bidders conference for this capacity building funding, where we'll go over minimum requirements, details, budgets, everything. So I'm trying to find it. Bidders conference. Anybody ever been to a bidders conference before? No?
They all have summer.
I was like, Jennifer, what are you talking about?
Yes,
I haven't had coffee yet. So.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Like I said, it's like a special kind of lingo that, like, when it comes to the world of government procurement, you kind of tend to get used to it over time. But for the longest time, I thought it was bitter, B-I-T-T-E-R. And because people would say it, I was like, what's a bidders conference? Bidders conference. I was like, why are they bitter? Now I got it. Bitter. Got it. You're going to bid. Makes sense. Okay. So, all right. So again, everybody has the self-assessment tools. Check your attendance. If you've said something today in this meeting, we'll fix it. So kids count, I believe I have to make a change. If there are any other ones, let me know. Stay tuned for additional funding, and make sure you sign in for today. For anybody, sign in.
We'll need to look at Alachua County Board of County Commission. They're listed twice under 2 different names. And so one, it looks like they attended all the trainings and one it didn't, but we can talk about that offline.
Okay, we'll fix it.
All right.
Anything else? Anyone have any other questions? What is one thing, since I have 5 minutes, what are you guys excited for this week? Anybody? What's exciting for your programs this week? I don't have any kids or after school kids or summer camp kids anymore. So I got to live vicariously through you all.
So we're open for Veterans Day, and I'm advocating for our entire team to go on field trips with the kids so that we can take a brain break.
Oh, I love that.
Mhm.
Any idea where you might go?
Dude, I said the beach, not the beach, but like Washington Oak State Park.
I was about to say, like, where's there?
Beautiful. It's so, my coworker goes, I'm down.
Nice.
It's just beautiful and it's relaxing and it's nature and the temperature is beautiful. Yeah.
So, sounds lovely. I'm in for a beach trip. You need a chaperone? I'm level 2 background check. Anybody else excited for some things coming up this week or in the next couple of weeks? Thanksgiving. Everybody's excited for turkey or tofurkey. Perfect. Sounds great. I think Carrie, you have Christmas decorations behind you already?
I'm at a coffee shop, Patty Cakes. They have a Christmas tree up.
Oh, I see. I'm just saying the war on Christmas is really happening early. All I know. It used to have a very specific Black Friday, like anything after Black Friday was okay, but now it's like pre-Halloween. I was like,
Yeah, my neighbors had like really extravagant Halloween decorations up, and then right after Halloween took them down and went straight to Christmas. Like lights, like 10 blow-ups outside, all ready for Christmas. I'm a believer in after Thanksgiving, then we switch to Christmas, not before.
yeah, that's my tradition is definitely as soon as Thanksgiving's over, tree and Hanukkah bush, as we call it in our house. All right. So any questions about next steps? So again, tomorrow there's going to be bidders conference. Stay tuned for all the fun ITN things. Start working on your self-assessments and your goals. If you have any questions right now, though, I would take the opportunity, just saying, if you have questions, you might want to ask them now.
About the bidders conference tomorrow, I'm sorry, did you say, where do we find the link? Is that going to be available?
It's on the calendar already.
So we can just go on there.
You go to the Children's Trust of Alachua County.
Like today. Okay, perfect.
It is on the calendar.
I was successful when I added it to my Google Calendar. The link worked well from there.
Here, add to calendar. Got it. Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
What are the answers for A, B, and C on the ITN for tomorrow?
What are the answers?
Yeah, it tells us what we need to write to be successful.
All you have to do is write your own self-assessment
Do
goal.
that.
If you want a sneak peek at what's in the ITN, you guys know you can look at the board materials, right?
That
Just passing on that knowledge. If you want to look at what's in there, because it got approved by the board yesterday, you might want to take a look at the board, the trust board meeting and the board packet. This is just a good information to have in general, I think. Guess what? It's in there.
The full ITN is not there, but the scope of services is there.
Correct.
But it'll be up in maybe 2 hours. Anything
else you guys might have? All right. If not, you will get 9 minutes back of your day. Thank you all for being here. I look forward to seeing you in future meetings and in the collaborative. And again, the idea for those of you who might not be eligible for the funding, which again, not everybody is eligible for the capacity building funding, I would still urge you to still consider being a part of the collaborative, which will just be these monthly meetings essentially, because I think the convening power of the collaborative is probably the most important part of this, not just the capacity building funding. Important as well, but at the same time, the convening power is just as important, if not more important in my mind. Okay. Any other questions?
Guys, so much.
All right, man. Make sure everybody signed in, and I'll fix some things on the tracker. And everybody have a great day. And Christy, have a great day at the beach, wherever that might be in a landlocked county. But see you. All right, I think that's it.
Yep. Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.
Oh, let me stop recording.